All right. Hey, everybody. I hope you're doing well wherever you are watching this video, wherever you are in this actual moment. We had an amazing day today. Earlier today, you heard from Krystal. Krystal actually laid down this framework. I'm going to come back and do it again. Again, different style, different approach, maybe a different even thought. I actually have a use case that I was a part of myself talk about some of that as I layer it in with what we're talking about today. And remember, we are the Commons Academy. It is where you learn and you understand how valuable you are to stay in the loop. AI is moving at the speed of AI. We just had a big thing happen with Manus. Anybody using Manus? I was using Manus every single day. Manus is making my posts. Manus is sending out messages. Manus is making, writing things for me, things of this nature. And then what happened? Facebook bought it, right? And then they had the big fight with China. And then China said, no, you can't do it. And then Manus went back and forth. And now they kind of like pulling himself back away from, Meta. Okay. So it's a big, ugly, nasty thing. But they was dealing with our data. And the fact is, that's going to be the run for the next couple of months. We're going to see all these major corporations, mega companies kind of swapping up and swallowing up these smaller companies for billions of dollars. I mean, think about it. In an economy like this, billions of dollars sounds pretty good to most people. So if they build something, they're just going to take the billions and go, right? Go ahead, take the money and run. So, but in the middle of that is us, everyday people who are looking at ways to stay on the top edge, cutting edge of exactly what you want to do. And so, there was a layout of information that I want to make sure that we, talk about that fence, right? We got to fence things. We got to put things into perspective. We got to make sure we keep it safe. We got to keep it where it's not taking advantage of us, but we're working with it. And remember, you are the human, you are the person that needs to check and balance. AI is a tool, right? It's a tool no matter what. Now you could use tools all kind of crazy ways, right? You can use, whatever that tool is. If you put it to work in the wrong environment, it's probably not going to do the best for you. But if you can be in the hands of a craftsman, it's a whole nother level, right? We want you to be a craftsman. You are irreplaceable. You are unstoppable, right? You are in a position where you can learn one major skill with the AI world and turn your whole family around financially, right? I was listening to somebody just yesterday, and it was a gentleman who was, he's been in the IT world all his life. He's worked up a really beautiful career, and then all of a sudden, overnight, the company that he worked for 20 years disappeared. And he was on the sidelines trying to figure out what am I going to do? How do I find a job at 60 years old? But he knew a skill. He knew an AI skill. So he found a video and he said, okay, if I can put this to work, if I can make this happen, things can change and turn around. And he actually built a really simple ebook for his area of expertise, and he sold one, then he sold another, and before he knew it, he had a $10,000 a month income, surpassing everything that he had already worked for at this time in his life. So, how can that happen? It can happen because we're leveraging AI. We're taking AI by the horns and we're figuring it out how to work it, not letting it just work us, right? And so, last week, last couple of weeks, we had a number of different things that we shared with you. And one of them was the fact that, when have information and you need to, get it out to all of your staff. Maybe you're a company, small business, maybe, you have a small group of people. Rolling something out is powerful if it's done the right way. So today we're going to focus in on something that, a lot of people just kind of take for granted. I know even in my world, I was in a situation where I'm thinking, wow, why are they, just putting this tool out with no training? Why are they giving it to everybody saying it's going to be an adoption when most people didn't even know it was coming? Have you ever had that situation? Have you had that situation where you wake up, you go to bed on Thursday, you wake up Friday with a message that came out of the blue, it seems like all of a sudden Everything's changed. I mean, it happened to a lot of federal employees back in February last year. It happened to a lot of small businesses. It happened to Amazon, right? They had just read how Amazon was doing their best to maintain their employees. And then overnight, there was a message that came out that said, as of today, you no longer have a job, right? Can you imagine that? I went through a layoff like that back in, the day. And it was that kind of thing where they gave us a letter, a notice. You came in for work and they gave everybody this little notice and said, this notice is for you for this afternoon. And some people thought it was a bonus. Some people thought it was this Christmas thing getting ready to happen. And when we opened it, the whole place was almost subdued, right? Because it was people losing their jobs. And it said at 12 o'clock p.m., report to gate number 13. We are no longer needing your services. Imagine getting a letter, an adoption for some AI tool. You're not going to be thinking, oh, this tool is going to work. What you're probably going to be thinking is, how is this tool going to take my job? It's going to impact me in a way that I no longer have to work in this environment. I am obsolete. And so what we want you to do and what we want you to understand is that you're not obsolete. Use the tools, figure them out. They still need you. Now, there are some people that are gonna lose their jobs. There are some people who have already lost their job. There are some people who are scrambling right now trying to find a new focus, right? I'm gonna fix that right quick. They're trying to find a new focus. Why? They did not prepare. There's an old Whitney Young quote that says, it's better to be prepared for an opportunity and not have one than to have an opportunity and not be prepared. So I want to encourage you to be prepared. I want to encourage you through the Commons Academy to get ready, right? Well, we've been doing these lives for now. This is week number 6, I believe, right? And so we told you about how you can get an agent and get the voice and have it talk like you, have it think like you, have it do things that will be impactful as if you were doing it yourself. So that will free you up for those higher tasks. Well, I'm going to share my screen right now because I want to remind you of the website, show you the portal and all that kind of stuff, but give you some insights. And we're going to work with a live demo today, right? We're going live with the demo today. And let me get to the Commons Academy. Again, thecommonsacademy.com. And we're talking about leading the change. What happens when change shows up and you're not prepared? We're going to actually think about or work from a premise. And I'm going to expose that premise in a little bit, right? But the thing is, we got to put the barriers in place. We got to put the fence up. We got to fence you. You got to be able to truly impact the work versus the work impacting you. All right? So the room is the last step, not the first. The room is the last step, not the first. Leading change, they just put everything out on everybody and say, hey, adapt and hope that it works. And then they spend millions and billions of dollars. I mean, we saw that in the industry. They let go of all these people, and then they had to go hire a whole bunch of people back. And then they said, oh, we're going to hire people, but we're only going to hire the people who know AI. And that changed the landscape a little bit. So they said it's not going to replace your job. AI is going to replace those who don't know how to leverage AI. That's going to be the difference, right? So you found the task worth handing off. He's like, hey, I got this thing. I want this thing done, right? Now a second person has to agree. Today, you're going to map the room. What do we mean by mapping the room? We're looking at who's the adopter, who's the early adopter, who's the curious one, who's the individual that's like, heck, no, I'm not doing it. I don't want it, right? I saw that in my industry. People were like, no, no, no. I had one person, actually, this is a quick story, tell me that it was the devil and if God this and that. And then he said, like, I will never, this is what he said, I will never use artificial intelligence because my intelligence is far better. I said, that's not a problem. Your intelligence should be far better. But how quick do you access information? When you got to remember something in seconds, where's it at in your brain? How do you even recall it and then recall it verbatim 17,000 times every time you need it? You can't do that, buddy. And then he was like, well, and then we had this little discussion. I said, just give it a shot, hang out, borrow my belief. So tonight, I'm going to ask you to borrow our belief. Borrow Krystal's belief from earlier today. If you get the replay, check out the replay. Now, she goes in a different tone. She has a different style of delivery and things of this nature, but we all get into the same space, okay? We're going to start in the same place and end at the same space. All right, so that is going to be the through line, right? Okay, but when we map, we want to look for who is resistant to this change, right? And how do we do it? We're going to find that the more effective and most effective way is not just throwing it all out there for everybody, but how do we get that one person to do something? There was this really cool video once that I saw, and it was talking about how it only takes one, right? The power of one. Okay, think about this. So there's a group of people sitting around waiting for the concert to start. And then there was some music that the DJ was playing to get ready for the people to come on stage, but nobody was dancing. Everybody was chilling, kicking it on the side of the hill, just waiting. And then this one guy just got up and started like just dancing. Come on, people now, found your brother. Right? He started just clapping and he started dancing around all by himself. And then this girl looked over there, she saw him, so she walked over and she started dancing with him. Right? Next thing you know, three other people jumped up and they started dancing with him. And before you know it, the entire side of the hill was dancing. What happened? What happened? That one person was the catalyst, not from a voice over here saying, hey, you guys, I think you should dance to this music. No, that one person was curious enough to say, and bold enough to jump up and make a move. And then they started moving, and other people thought it's safe and said, oh, okay. Or they were curious. What is he dancing? He must be having a good time. He's smiling. I got to get me one of those. I'm going to have me some of that. And so they started working together. So they put the conversation in the right order. They put it in a way in which it worked for everybody to start joining in. And then, of course, we're going to name the test that proves alignment is real. See, alignment is the place of power. How can two walk in any direction if they're going the direction this opposite? They have to come in alignment in order for them to work. Not agreement all the time. Covey speaks of this, but Dr. Maxwell speaks of this in 360 Leadership. He says sometimes you won't have people totally in agreement, but you want to have them in alignment. And when you have it in alignment, now you can build, you can move, you can start making change together that is universal across the organization. So we're going to be talking about that tonight. All right. Again, I want to remind you, you come to the academy, you join the academy, and we've been giving away a lot of really good free information. But we're getting ready to go into this other part where you're going to be able to participate financially, and we'll talk about that toward the end. But also, just take a look on the website. It's absolutely awesome. It talks about how it works. You got live sessions and like this that you can put on your calendar. Then we have tools that you can use. Some of you don't know your archetype. Check out your archetype. 3 minutes. Give it some time and you can find your archetype. Go into the library and dig. We got free stuff in there. 20-minute stuff, 10-minute stuff, things that you could just look at a little bit and go a little bit and then till you get it there. And then we even have missions. It's like a little thing you do so you can move yourself and move the needle just a little bit until you're more proficient or more efficient when it comes to the work. All right. So that's what's going on. I'm D. Ross, Dwayne Ross. I am the owner of skillvibes.net, but I'm also a partner here, a facilitator with the Commons Academy. And I'm with Krystal, Friesh, and Eric, and also Holly. So listen, we are positioned to help you move forward. Now, real quick caveat, never put client records, staff records, health, financial, otherwise confidential information into a public AI tool. On this page, use initials or role labels only. We're going to come up with names that we just make up. I might use Scooby-Doo or something like that, okay? Because we want to make sure we frame it. All right, so now, and we do it in a way that it is safe for others. Remember, AI does take notes. Okay, it is learning. And so when we have the ability to turn the learning off or make the learning less, we need to do that, right? Because we still have to, protect ourselves from everything that's going on. All right. So here is the situation. A rollout gets announced at 4:58 on Friday. How many have had that situation? Put a thumbs up in the chat or put an emoji or something or put a reaction, right? 4:58 on a Friday. That's usually when everybody's packing up. Most people have already packed up and they're out, right? 9 to 5ers are like, yeah, it's almost 5 o'clock. I got to go, right? Friday, living it up. Oh yeah. Friday night, right? So Friday, it's the weekend, living for the weekend, right? By Monday, the tool has a nickname and it's not usually very affectionate. It's very nasty in most cases. And they're like, this sucks, right? That was not messaging failure. It was a sequence failure because they threw it out there without preparing anyone. They pushed it out there without giving people the chance to put their toe in the water, to get their feet wet. You ever have somebody just throw you into the ocean and it's cold? That's a terrible situation for some people or in a pool, right? But most people, and I'll just, I see them. They'll go to the edge of the pool. They look at the pool. They look at the water. They go, looks like it might be cold. Could be warm. And then what do? They dip a little toe in there, and they take a little. They just get a little bit in, and then they come out. And then when you see them ready, like adopt, they jump on in. Okay, or they go in. They get in, and they go under the water. And they come back up and go, whoo. Woo, yeah, right? So we want to talk about this sequence failure because it's very, very important. Who gets to decide where are they at in the room, right? Who's affected? That's the other part. There are people sometimes affecting the entire organization and they're somewhere else, right? Who must not hear this second hand. There are some fire starters in your organization. There are people who they are like all for it if you tell them in advance. But if you tell them all back after the fact, they're like, I don't want this. Forget that. Y'all didn't have the decency to let me know. I've been taking care of business over here. I've been running things over here, and you didn't let me know. All right, secondhand. And then the third category is where rollouts actually die, right? It's like, who must not hear it secondhand? Because if they do that, they're going to talk about it. They're going to look at the worst case scenarios. They're going to come at it from a space like, it can't be that important. They didn't let me know. All right. So we drew upon a number of different things. And remember, the fence was in week 3, right? Okay. We talked about the fence, putting a fence around, your own judgment, making sure that you stay focused inside the situation, right? And then we found that one task. Remember we did that thing where, I took like one task and turned it into 5 options, right? Right? And we knew that, hey, there was at least one of those things that we could have handed off, right? So we're going to talk about that because this is where we get the second person as in agreement, okay? So, but think about this. This is going to be, I'm going to interact with you here. If you want to go ahead and log on, sign up. It's free. And there's an actual space where you can actually work along with me through this demonstration. And then as we go, sharing information. Excuse me, right? So think about the change you're trying to introduce, right? This is new software, new process, new policy, new idea, right? So we want to, put that out there. Remember, when we're using our systems, we're going to scrub it. We're going to put, fake names, things that we know what it is. Maybe it's a name that, gives you an idea, but you don't put that person, right? And then, you move forward. So here we have AI drafts the Friday summary. A person still reads it and send it. Remember that? Remember how we keep the human in the loop? AI can do a lot of cool stuff, but you need to be the one that says yes, approved, yep. this will work. And if you do give it autonomy, you got to make sure you set it up with everything you need before you say, yes, you can go ahead and make moves, right? So you want to do that, okay? Very, very, very important. All right. So one sentence and what's the change? Today, I'm going to say we are implementing a new work from home policy, right? No, we're removing, we are removing the new work from home policy. Something happened, people got, upset, right? Your people are your client, your partner, your contractor, your bookkeeper, smaller map, same discipline. Okay, don't forget that. Right? But this is what we're going to use as I'm going to use for my focus today. Okay? So we're going to map the room. All right, so this is the strategy. We're moving the new work. We're removing the new work from home policy. There was a policy, it came into play, and then it was working for a little while. Some people in the higher office said, nah, we don't need that. We want people in the office with paying for space. Bring them all back. And they didn't say nothing to anybody. They sent out this message at 4:58 p.m. on a Friday. And now you are getting it at, when you come into work on Monday. By Monday, what would you call it? All right. So, three categories. Most people can name the first and two or three, or skip the third, which is, one of the things that we're going to say on the rollout. But here's the thing. Who decides, right? Who can stop it? Who can change it? Who can like make that policy null and void? Who's the person, right? So we map the room and we're going to use three categories, right? Three categories. Usually most people know who decides, but who's affected, they don't know. I mean, there's somebody making a decision in HR or somebody making a decision above HR and tells HR implement this strategy, right? And now we know that everything's going to change. And then who must not hear it secondhand, right? This is very, very important. So again, we're working this out. So user material is already public, right? So we're going to scrub it. So who's the partner that needs to hear it? Let's just say, who's that person, right? I'm going to say CE, right? CE, that's the name of somebody. I'm just going to put that there so you know it, right? Oops. Okay. And so you can work with me on that, right? This is a person who decides. Another person that I want to put that is TE, right? And so these two, they're the ones who decides, right? And then of course, we're gonna put this here number on there, right? And initials are only the role, nothing is saved, right? We can add another person. This person is number one, this person is number two. Then we want to say who must not hear secondhand, right? And that's going to be DR, right? So I'm going to put DR there, right? Got to be number one. And then JK is somebody else's partnership. And I think Krystal used that person. And then I'm going to use the last person is going to be TL, right? And she's the person who's affected the most. She is single parent, has two kids in college, one in high school and one in middle school. She's been working from home for quite some time in the HR department, and now she loves this. She finally got her life together because her husband, he was working and he left, and then she, got a better job, and she's, single parent, taking care of family, right? He left. So here she is. She's doing this stuff, right? Now, we want to know why is this person number one or number two? Because it's very important to make sure that we know the order of business, right? Order of business. And if you have other people, you can put them, add a person, etc. Right? Who belongs in the third category is read only. You can make it. Okay, it comes from history, standing, not from the org chart, right? This is the people that you connect with on a regular basis. It doesn't have to be on the org chart. It could be like the janitor, right? I'm gonna put the janitor. I'm gonna put the janitor because that's gonna impact his work, right? Because now, you know, he's gonna be affected because he's got to work way, way, way harder, right? Okay. So again, who belongs in that category, right? Remember, we had three categories: who decides, who's affected, and must not hear it secondhand. As a matter of fact, I'm going to say must not hear it secondhand because he's going to feel like he got jacked, right? He's going to feel like he got jacked. It's like, what? How did this happen, right? And so now we got that. Okay, again, from history, from who's in the building, who's in the room, how things work around here. It doesn't have to be in the pretty org chart and fixed, that way. And remember, it's not the tool is not going to make the decision. Okay. Now, every objection is a custom. Read all four. The pattern shows up fast. Okay. So we're going to decode it. This will replace us. This is that person that's like, oh my God, this is going to happen. And now I can't do my work. I'm going to lose my job. It's too complicated, right? That's somebody else. I mean, we got to know, what does this mean, right? The fear, I'll be replaced. The tool does my work. What's left for me? The real move is this: name what only they can do, right? What can the human do that the tool just can't do? Show the tool taking the busy work so that they can keep the human part, the judgment, the relationship, say it before anything else, right? So this is what we want to do. We want to decode it. We want to get rid of that resistance, right? Get rid of that resistance, or at least reduce it. Oh man, I can't believe it, right? Again, make the first step tiny. Remember baby steps? Baby steps are so important because if you give them a little bit, remember they say, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. Give them a little bit, one task, no big deal, no audience, just me and you having a conversation, or you send a direct message, not all reply all message, right? Small, safe. Individuals feel that you care. They feel like you took time for them, right? So it shows that you have compassion in your business, right? Small and safe, very, very cool, right? And that the change can be quick. It could be learnable, right? What about mistakes? How do you make sure that people don't feel blamed if a mistake happens? So they're going to be fearful. If they're not going to work with it, they're not going to do it, right? Because if they feel like they're going to be blamed for something that they did wrong, they go like, I'm not getting in trouble, so I'm not going to use it. All right. But show them out loud. Here's what we want. Here's some best practices. Here's how you use the tool the most effective way. And if you do make a mistake, here's how we put some safeguards in place, right? This way that the client or the individual knows, hey, this mistake never reaches the client because we took the time to allow you to improve, and you had to improve it before it was ever sent out. So important, right? Now, how about this one? I don't have time, right? This is just where they say, you know what? I ain't got time for this, right? Schedule it. Learning in the public, it costs more than your hours. It costs people's careers. It costs, a lot, right? Because they don't want to be found wrong. They don't want to be found like they don't know. Okay. So you got to give them a chance to, allow themselves to take that task and be a success with it, right? And if they're genuinely successful, then they'll say, well, I guess I can fit this in my schedule. I guess I can, and then you fill in the blank, right? Okay. So now we're going to go person by person to see how this works. Now, again, I was using this example, but let's continue with the flow because it was already pre-populated. That's so for the sake of time. Okay. All right. So CE, who decides the sentences you expect to hear, right? This is one of those types of things, right? You got to find a gap, right? This person when you say, hey, who decides? They decided, right? You got to bring them back to this. What sentence do you expect to hear? If there was any type of pushback, right? And then which gap is it? Hasn't heard it, doesn't know it's happening, doesn't want it, doesn't know how, can't yet, won't stick, tried it before, right? So in this case, CE who decides, what do you expect them to say? Right? And I'm just going to put a sentence in there. All right. They already, have the message coming to them, right? So how is this going to work? They're skeptical. They're like, I don't know, how's this going to work? Right? And so, willing and trained, but access time permission blocks them. Nah. Work once, nothing holds in place. Let's put that. I think it'd be like, how's this going to work? We tried it before, and it won't stick, right? The question you'll actually ask them, right, is what? If they're saying, hey, how's this going to work? What question should you ask them so that it can stick, right? So I'm just gonna, think of me working this through with my, a staff member if I'm doing leadership, right? I'm gonna say, okay, the question I need to ask is this, um, you know, do you have any experience that you can draw from to help us make this change? Right? I'm just going to put them in, I'm going to infuse them into the possibilities, right? Because again, every objection is a costume. Read all four, the pattern shows up fast, right? These objections can be very clearly overcome if we take the time to do the move, right? Shrink the ask until time stops being the reason. I don't have time. Well, what if we did 2 times? What if we just do it for 3 minutes, right? Working on it, okay? Then here, do the same thing. Who decides? The sentence you expect to hear, and then how does that fill the gap, right? And for the sake of time, I'm going to pop through this one, right? And then, the sentence you expect must not hear it secondhand. I don't know what's happening, right? So how I'm going to cover that gap. I got to get this person knowing what's happening. So what would I do? I say, hey, I have this change that is about to be released. I'd like your opinion on it. It's already been decided by management to go forward, but I still want your thoughts about how we might implement this strategy. Okay, something like that, where you say, hey, I have this change and I'm about to be released. You're giving them a situation. I'd like your opinion on it, right? It's already been decided by management to go forward, but I still want thoughts. I want your thoughts. I want to hear what you have to say. And that will reduce this friction, right? And then we can keep going on for the rest of that, right? So again, most leaders answer doesn't want it with training. That's what they say. Oh, we just train them. They'll figure it out, right? Which, you know, is the answer to doesn't know how. You cannot fix doesn't want in a group chat, group room. When you say doesn't want, that means it's like a total rejection of that particular change. So we got to get that person on one-on-one call. Maybe we can put them with somebody that they work with on a regular basis who's already an early adopter or who has already made and seen progress with this new change or have seen the good on whatever that change is, and you put them together And maybe that's the way to work. You're going to have to come and figure that out. But the fact is, doing it in a big group and saying, too bad, so sad, is not going to get them on board. What we want them to do is buy in. And remember, we talked about it in the beginning, alignment, not total agreement. It'd be great if there was total agreement, but in a lot of cases, being real, leading with the speed of trust is so important, right? And if we're not leading with the speed of trust, what happens is we allow ourselves to run over people. And when we do that, they don't find no loyalty, they don't buy into anything else, and they just kind of exist and get along to get along. And we don't want that. That is the opposite of a high performance team. Okay? All right, so we want to make sure that we do this. So let's check in on the human zone, right? Naming someone's real worry out loud and letting them correct you, that is the job. That's the work, right? We want to say, hey, is this what's happening? And let them give you feedback, right? The tool can draft the question. You have to sit in the answer, right? You have to sit with it and say, okay, is this really truly the best option that we have? Have we helped them get past that barrier? What kind of conversations do we need to have in order to move them forward? And am I attempting to have them take a giant leap forward, or am I really letting them take a baby step? What can I do to give them a baby step toward that change as opposed to a full leap, a full bound? Okay. That is so precious, and it moves the entire mountain. It moves the entire mountain. When we try to do it the other way, or we've seen companies do it the other way, and then people want to fight, there's infighting, there's disloyalty, there's a slowdown. A couple years ago during COVID, we called it quiet quitting. They were coming to work, but they were quietly quitting. And then we just saw a huge amount of people just say, you know what? I don't have to put up with this. I'm out of here. And they retired early. They just left. Okay. So remember earlier we talked about you can have something, but if you put it in the right order, it works more efficiently. If you put it in the wrong order, things can get kind of haywire. So in this case, we want to order our conversation, right? Give each person a number. The order is the strategy. Remember, start with the curious. This is so important. Write this down, y'all. Write this down, right? Most people try to find the squeaky wheel, the voice that's like, I don't believe it. This is terrible. I can't believe, right? That skeptic, that naysayer, that they want to quiet them down. Shh, shh. But the reality is, who's curious? Who's already been playing with it overnight? The idea. They've already figured out, oh, I can take my daycare here. I can do this. I can do that. They've already come up with strategies to be successful, right? That's the kind of person whose voice needs to be resonated across the organization. I was in a situation where I actually was the squeaky wheel. I was a curious one. And I was taken off a project and put on something totally different. And it was like, why, you guys? Why? Right? It was absolutely ridiculous. Now, I dealt with it and kept on moving and everything like because I'm a high performer. So it doesn't matter. You can put me anywhere. I'm going to work. I'm going to take care of business. But the fact was, I was so curious. They could have used that curiosity, leveraged that curiosity, and helped thousands of people become ready for the change that came. But instead, they wanted to go the old-fashioned way. Do what we say. Command and control. Well, that does not work. In today's world, people don't tolerate that kind of guidance or misguidance, right? Another strategy, again, align a small group before the big one. Get small pockets of innovators, small pockets of early adopters, small pockets, create a little group, give them space to make mistakes, give them a sandbox to try it out, give them an opportunity to have a conversation, host like listening sessions, right? Host town hall meetings, little time, excuse me, little ways to help go a long way, right? Remember, the must not hear it secondhand person cannot be late in the order. If you allow them to be late in the order, what are they going to do? Complain, 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 shut down, shut down, shut down, not want to adopt, adopt, adopt. Okay? We want to do better. Oh, excuse me about that. All right. So we're going to put it in order, right? So CE, who does decide? Must hear secondhand. So we're going to talk to DR. So this is the righteous order in reference to what we're doing, right? We're going to say, okay, he decided. So, but DR, we must get him on board. Because once he's on board, oh my gosh, it's going to make the rest of this stuff easy, right? You cannot be last, and why? Who cannot be last, right? So again, DR, right? Must not be last. Because he could derail the efforts faster than anyone on the team and cause hardship for everyone. Oh yeah, that's what that dude can do, right? Cause hardship for everyone, right? So we want to make sure that we're doing it the right way. Put it in the right order. Allow it to drive with curiosity. Drive the change, right? Order the strategy. All right, we got a few minutes left, and I just want to come to this one. So, write the first one. 6 sentences total in this order. Say the fence before you name the tool, right? Figure out what the fence is. What stays human, right? Then you could say, oh, we'll use ChatGPT, or we'll use this or that, okay? But we want to put the fence up. What is this? What is protecting you, the human, before we go jumping down tool lane, okay? And in this case, nothing goes to the client without reading it, all right? That doesn't change. So in this case, again, what do we need to do, right? What stays human and what's said before the tool is named? We got to let people feel. We got to let people understand. We got to give them context and content, right? Then we look at the task. Again, small, specific, not a big giant leap, very small. First draft for the Friday summary. One little email that we're about to send out. Okay? Task, small, specific, not the platform. Okay? And then to ask, what are you really wanting people to do? Right? Would you try it? Tell me if it's garbage. Tell me if you like it. Tell me if you don't. What can we add to it to make it work? Right? What is the ask? If you're not dealing with the ask, you're going to run into some problems because now they're going to be confused about what to do next. And so we want to line that up with them. Here's the task. Here's what I want you to do. This is what we're asking from you, right? You're going to roll out this new thing. You're going to change this new policy. You're going to implement this new strategy. You got to give people a chance to taste and see that it is good. And then they can move forward and drink the whole thing, right? Not bad. Woo, chugga chugga look, right? And then what's the question? Figure out what their first worry, what their big step, what their barrier is, what their gap is, right? And then ask the question and then be quiet, chill, relax, let them express because they're going to tell you the things that you need to know in order to implement a better strategy, right? Remember, when you think about the question, do your best not to plant any kind of seed into the question, but allow them to come up with the question that they need for them. And then you can take it and pull all that data together and then come up with a strategy, right? What is that thing that would keep you up at night about this decision? All right. Remember, if we're drafting an email, drafting a letter, drafting this, overnight change policy, etc., AI does the draft, but the human needs to sign off on it, right? Remember, we're only taking one conversation, not 10, not this big giant thing, right? We're just taking that one thing and making it happen. And then, of course, we have this section here. Silence is not agreement. Remember that. A lot of times when somebody's silent, they're trying to figure out how they could sabotage or leave it alone or just not participate. They're like, oh, yeah, that's good. Oh, really? Oh, okay, great. Yeah, yeah. Sometimes they'll be like, all right then, go ahead, do what you do. Well, this probably ain't gonna work. They should have asked me. I would have told them if they put I had a situation with, my daughter where she was adamant about a particular thing. And then I was like, okay, so I let her go ahead and like make that decision. She didn't read the small print about that decision. And then so it wind up costing money, but it also helped her learn a lesson. Don't just jump out there. Sometimes you gotta relax, listen, right? Silence is not an agreement, right? Neither is that sounds good. Yeah. Oh wow, that's amazing. Mm, that's good. Yeah, yeah. Okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, no problem. I got it. I got it. No problem. Right? That's when they're like really putting you off. They're not having real conversations about anything that you want them to do. Okay? Remember, you want to be able to see that they're in agreement. And I mean, they're in alignment and they're moving forward. Alignment is observable or it's not real. Okay. If you don't see them now moving towards that thing, maybe they're, trying it out. Maybe they're joining a group. Maybe they're attending a workshop. Maybe they're asking to go to a workshop. Whatever it is, if they're doing those things, they're in alignment because it's real. There's action. It's actionable. Okay. It's observable. You can see them moving forward toward that thing, right? If you don't see that, you're not going to have any alignment. All right. So here's some things that you can look for. Okay. The repeated impromptu in the third person in their own words. They can actually tell somebody about it. See, the power to fulfill is the power to explain. If you explain it, you can fulfill it, right? If you can't really explain it, it's hard for you to fulfill it. If you can't tell me how to make a cake, you probably can't make a cake. You know the ingredients and everything, but what do you put first? What do you do? Do you get a bowl first? What do you do? Right? So they repeat it impromptu to a third person, and it's in their own words. They've actually synergized the information, and now they can regurgitate. They're not just, regurgitating. They're not just spitting it back out the exact same way they got it. They actually now internalized it, and now they're able to express it. Okay, that's when you know that alignment has happened. Okay, it's observable. They schedule something. I'm going to try it. I'm going to join a group. I'm going to go to a workshop. I'm going to do something. I'm going to listen to a podcast. I'm going to read a book. I'm going to do something. I'm going to take an action, right? And that's a schedule. That's something that they're doing. They raise a specific objection. Better evidence for engagement than agreement. So here's another thing. Hey, I don't mind y'all doing this thing, but what about this? Hey, have you considered this? I got my hand slapped because I asked too many questions. They're like, you must think this. And I'm like, no, I don't think that. But because they didn't hear nothing from anybody else, it came to me like, oh, you must be a problem. As opposed to really listening to what I had to say and go, yeah, you know what? We have put some safeguards. Oh, yes, we this is something that we've considered. Or blah, blah, blah. Answer my questions. I'm good. Now I'm 1,000% ready to go. But because you didn't answer my questions and you put me off, I'm like, all right, do whatever y'all do. I'm cool. I'll be over here, you know? And that's reservation. That's reservation. If reservation is not agreement, all right? You don't want that, okay? And so then you do the time by when, and then with week three, what holds it in place when the novelty is gone? A lot of times new ideas, they kind of come out with a bang, and then they just fall flat. They just kind of go off in the sunset somewhere, right? You want to make sure that it doesn't do that, right? So you want to do the alignment test and you want to put some stuff in there. Now, again, for the sake of time, I did not fill everything in on here. You can come here and you can follow it. And it's step by step by step, guys. It's step by step by step. And it's so beautiful once you do it, right? And remember this, deciding to change is real enough to widen in your read, not a metric, right? The decision is not a metric, right? The change is real enough to widen is your read. That's what you want to see. Has it changed? Will it change? Does somebody's life, does something change? How does it impact the organization, the people in the organization? Who's affected? Who's not, right? And then it's not a metric. Widen when someone else is repeating it back to you impromptu. Again, if they can get it back to you, you're in a good space. You know that whatever that thing is that you were attempting to do has come back. And again, sometimes it might be more questions. So answer the questions. So what do we have for you this week, y'all? Bob, tell them what they have. We have what's called your call sheet, your one pager that you could print out. All right. And this is cool. Ready when you have four people, the order, the script, and test. Click it early and export, exports whatever exits so far. So you could actually, get your call sheet done, fill this all out, again, go up to the top, make sure you put all your information in, etc. And then once you get down to the nitty gritty of here, you can actually print it out, export your call sheet, and there's who decides, who CE, what category, expected objective, how is this going to work, won't stick, work once, nothing holds in place. Do you have any experience that you can help us make this change, right? That's that question. And then opening line, alignment test, and then by when, right? If I fill those other ones out, it'll come all the way across. For the sake of time, I didn't do that, but this is how it'll work. This is the finished product that you can now print out, and then you can have it. You'll know what your room. Remember, the room is the last step. DR can derail the entire efforts faster than anyone on the team and cause hardship for everyone. So we're removing that new work from the home policy. We're going to make sure that DR is involved. Must hear it and not secondhand, right? And then, of course, we're doing that, we can go across with the other people. I didn't answer all those questions, so therefore none of this fill out. But when you do that, it will fill out for you. And all you got to do is print that bad boy out, and you can have now cool conversations with your team. All right, so this was a walkthrough, and it was really, step by step by step, nothing really major. However, if you want to see a different way of going about it, you can watch the replay right here, right? Full recording from earlier today with Krystal. This also recording will be available there as well, right? Remember who decides, who's affected, and who must not hear it secondhand. These three categories are so important, but the one that will derail it all is who must hear it, not hear it secondhand, right? Because if you get that wrong, it could just mess up the whole thing, right? All right, so again, I want to get you up here how it works. Find, fence, forge. We're doing fence, we found. We're doing fence right now, and then we're going to forge. We're going to move forward to build something, right? Spot where AI helps. Fence, keep it safe. Decide how it's going to be in your zone, and then we're going to make it yours. We're going to move and do some stuff, right? Simple things. Small. Here's some other stuff you can do for who? You, your team, your department, right? You got live lessons you can take, private sessions you can sign up for, right? Pick a first step, join a free live, start learning. If you start learning, you go over here. Where do you want to go? What do you want? I want to write in my own voice. Boom, go to the library, you open up that, and now here you go. Here's some cool stuff. You got a PDF right here, done for you. Starter Core AI Prompt Library, very cool here. Human-owned scope, price, and any client-face sends. AI owns the first draft, the summary, and the checklist, right? Again, draft only. Flag every assumption, every number. It cannot source. You're giving it the instructions to make sure it doesn't give you false information, right? That's going to be part of the prompt. Then you configure it, and then you put it out there. So it gives you all the stuff you need to get going, right? And here's his discovery. Act as a senior systems architect and organizational diagnostician, right? Now, this is what you're doing. You're giving a persona, right? So all this stuff is here. You got live sessions. We're going to say every Thursday, which is tonight and subsequent nights, right? Real demos, not just basic information, right? Find out what we're building next. Here's all the past sessions. You can watch the replay here, watch the recordings there, right? Here go both recordings from building your brain to teaching AI that sounds like you, fencing yourself, making sure it's safe. This one is bad. One of you, one thing and many outputs. And we're going to be coming back to that when we build our actual, we're going to be building an AI agent team. You're going to have somebody that's doing your social media. You're going to have somebody that's doing posts. You're going to have somebody doing a number of different things, administrative tasks, all that kind of stuff, right? If you need tools, here's the tools. We got the sequence there. You can use this. These are free library access, start here, assessment for your archetype playbook. This is really thought out. Krystal did an amazing job. Let's give her a hand for that, right? And then conditions, right? More tools dropping every month, and all you gotta do is go check it out. Got the coolest library here. This is flash missions is what I was talking about earlier. Run the fence check before you paste, right? Real cool. All you got to do is click it. Here it is. Performance objective. Given any document content, it's going to tell you, redact this, put this out. What you're going to do. Here's the prompt right there. Act as a data safety checker. I would describe or paste content. I want you to use the AI tool, classify every element. Green is safe. Yellow, redact. Red, do not paste. Remember we talked about that? That way you don't just put information out there in front of people and you haven't, checked it or made sure it's safe. The tool is right here and it helps you with the fencing, right? Every single time before you paste, always mentally fence, always fence. Fence is so important. And then you can, move forward with that, right? We got a fence scanner in there and it's awesome. All right. So anyway, different programs, one method, public and private sessions. We have that live this week again. We have the demystifier, your first simple agent that's coming up next week. RSVP for free. Then we got leading, the change, adoption. 0 and 20 minutes. All these kind of cool stuff that you can just do and it is absolutely awesome for you. Okay, so you'll see more coming as you go. And if you want to know more about us, here it is, the movement, right? Facilitators and co-founders. I'm Dwayne Ross, AI innovator leader, right? I lead the Academy of Build Practices. We got Holly Wiggins, co-founder Krystal, and co-founder CEO Eric of Acute Insight, who is sponsoring this with us with the Commons Academy. Then we have Liz, comparison Ted. Ted is awesome. This guy is freaking crazy. He have an idea, he'll build it. He builds all kind of different strategies, but he builds these amazing apps. So anyway, that's the team. This is the team right here, right? Check us out. Get more information. Reach out to us. My name is Dwayne. I'm here. I'm going to stop the share, actually, and I'm going to stop the recording in a moment. But I just want to say thank you for riding with us tonight. That was a walkthrough again. You can go ahead and go in there, join, go inside, do the walkthrough yourself, print out your printout, and now you can have those conversations with your team the way that you need. And we'll see you here next Thursday at 12 noon with Krystal or 7 p.m. with myself and the Commons Academy saying good night. Thank you so much. Take care, everybody. I'm going to stop the recording.